Hey everyone, this is Sage City's podcast number 6. My name is Desu and today I'm joined by Tom as well as a very special guest. He is James Warmington, CEO of Travamigos. Travamigos is the travel app which connects you to groups of like-minded adventurers heading for the same destination. Born out of first-hand experience, the idea for the app quickly began to take shape after James and his father incorporated the company in 2017. Since then, they've won numerous prestigious awards and have brought over 13,000 users to their app. But I will now let James share his story with you. James, please fire away.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I started off my career as a quantity surveyor back in the day. I worked in the construction industry for quite some time, but actually I got sacked from every single job that I had in that industry. They were giving me some sort of like crazy mundane tasks to do 9 to 5, and my concentration levels just weren't sort of cut out for it. So that went to pot. So I knew pretty quickly that I had to start up a business, otherwise I was going to end up on the streets. And then sort of when I was about 18 months ago, the idea for Travamigos came about. I was sat on a beach. In fact, actually, he was talking about 18 months ago. It's like 4 years ago. I was sat on a beach in Brazil, watching the sun go down with a cold pint of Brahma, 50p a pint. And I just thought to myself how amazing the experience was, and it was a shame that I was sort of on my own and not sharing it with anybody else. Travamigos was born now in its infancy as an app that allows solo travellers to connect with groups of people heading for the same destination. And our tagline is experience shared.
Man, that is awesome. I've heard that story once before, and it's still fresh, man. It's still fresh. Still brings memories and a vivid picture to what it's like to be in Brazil. I'm sure Tom will know better than myself what Brazil is like.
Well, yeah, funny you should mention that. Came up with that idea in Brazil because I'm half Brazilian, so I do enjoy going over there and seeing some of the sights. It's a very cool place to hang out in and very good place to come up with new ideas, that's for sure.
On that beach, what did you really envision? Tell me about the origin stories. What were you first thinking about? How to make that vision into reality? What went through your head?
So Travamigos was app number 2 for me. I started an app when I was sort of 20, and it was a social media wallet called Bunch. So basically, if us three met for the first time, we could scan each other's QR codes, no pun intended, and basically follow each other on every social media platform in 5 seconds rather than searching through the individual things. I outsourced that to India, and what was meant to be a 3-month roadmap came back 2.5 years later. And people said that if you launch that, you're going to get sued by everybody. So I knew that with Travamigos, I needed to be a lot more sort of precise and clear with my founding team. So on the beach, I wasn't naive to starting businesses. I'd done it before. I'd raised investment. And it was just a case of, okay, who's the best people to start this?
How did you find those people? Did you already have them in your life? Because I know you and your father created this company. They set it up together. What's that relationship between you and your dad, if you want to talk about that, and any other co-founders that you have? Because I believe you have 4. So what's that relationship like, and how did you bring them on? How did you sell them this vision?
Yeah, so my pops is a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. He's had sort of 40 years sales and marketing experience, so he's class at that sort of thing. He is a veteran, yeah, exactly that. So it was just, I came back from Brazil. I'd gone on my own, so I came back and sat him down, and I was like, look, I've had this idea for a business. I'd like to do it. And I literally told him, and within sort of like 5 minutes of us having the conversation, he was like, okay, I'm in. And then we spent countless nights in the study downstairs, mapping all this out, doing all of the sort of roadmaps, the market research. Like I say, completely validating the product before we launched. It took us about 8 months. And then it was a case of, okay, now we've got all the documentation we need. We've got the technical roadmap. We know exactly what we want. It's just a case of who we're going to find to build it. So we scoured through sort of like 10, 15, 20 different companies. Didn't really get much of a vibe off any of them. And then like the 21st company really sort of ticked the boxes for us. And we were like, we need to get these guys on board. So it was a 2-man team, a developer and a designer. They both have equity in the business now. and have been sort of working on it since 2017 sort of thing.
When you were kind of forming that idea and like the market research, like what was the most like challenging part in actually making it tangible and real?
Market research, for anyone that's had a crazy business idea, is actually probably one of the most scary jobs you do at the start of a business, because it's like, I'm going to uncover this idea and it's going to break my heart because I've been having sleepless nights about how I'm going to become a millionaire and how it's going to change the world and make travel safer, and then somebody else is going to literally steal my dream. So the hardest thing was pushing that one step further on Google search results and just being like, I know it's coming around the corner, but it didn't around the corner. There wasn't a sort of app that allowed groups to meet before they got there, so I was really, really chuffed about that. So once we sort of nailed that, then it was on to the development, and then it almost was like downhill from there. And then obviously startups have their fires that you need to put out, but as far as actually starting the business, the first hurdle of actually sort of that market research was tricky.
From that original idea that took place 4 years ago, how has that transformed to what it is now? How have you and the company progressed parallel or together?
Yeah, so I've sort of had to step up to the ball massively, because, in my previous jobs, in my previous businesses, it was sort of just me. And now we sort of have a team of 5. So I've got everyone's sort of like mortgages and kids on my head. So that's quite difficult. So the sort of growing up stage had to be huge. Then we raised investment at the start of the year, and it took a step up again. I don't like to call myself a boss, but the people that I work with, I tend to have quite a laid back attitude with. So that sort of matey sort of style. But when the investor came on board, it was clear that he wanted agendas for the meetings, he wanted contracts in place, he wanted all of that sort of stuff, which is fair enough. So I had to go up that sort of one step. So every day the sort of business is growing, and every day I'm starting to realise how much of a ball ache it is.
Yeah, for sure. Like I can definitely relate to some of the transformation or changes you have to go through when growing the company. It's amazing, like when you think, surely I can't take on that responsibility, and then like you're paying people to, their livelihood is dependent on the income that goes into the business. So, and like yourself, I do it at the same time as wanting to be liked and friends with the people you work with. You also have to kind of be clear about, well, this is the direction, and you may not be necessarily liked for that. So that's been something I've been, learning about or getting involved with recently.
Along the way now, that in the past 4 years, you could say, you've brought in investment, you've brought in more people into the team, you've progressed as an individual. What were your milestones along the way? What were your achievements to date? And did you ever picture them happening at the very beginning, or did they come as a surprise as the ball rolled down the mountain into something much greater?
Yeah, absolutely. Surprise is probably a good word to use. Post-launch, we picked up close to 1,000 users in the first week. So we had quite an extensive sort of email marketing campaign go out to our users who sort of signed up for the original launch. That was November 18 that we hard launched. And then, like I say, quickly sort of grew and grew downloads. We were onboarding probably about, 2,000 users a month and that sort of thing. Came second in the UK Startup of the Year. And that was a surprise because we were only sort of like 2 months old. So that was really good. The competition was fantastic as well. And we just keep sort of like, we won sort of the AWWW awards. We've won quite a few. Yeah, just an increase of users. But it's amazing to see that, sort of an idea that I had, now people are now sort of using there's over 1,000 user generated groups on the app at the moment, sort of 350 of which have already gone. So it's good. It's a proud sort of time of my life, actually.
So what does that mean then? How have those achievements? Because those achievements worked as some sort of validation for the work you're doing. Did you feel? How did you feel like when you got that first award, or that first external party saying, "Okay, what these guys are doing is some cool shit, and we approve of this, and therefore this means a lot going on to the future." What did that truly mean to you from a validation perspective?
It means the world. People set out in business to become wealthy people. That's sort of every entrepreneur's dream at the start, but it soon sort of runs out of steam. That desire to become, super rich, and you almost immerse yourself into the brand and then have a real understanding and an appreciation for the people that you're helping along the way. So like I say, I made we partnered with sort of like Skyscanner and Hostelworld, which we'll come on to in a minute. I made £1 off Skyscanner affiliate revenue, and it was the best pound I've ever made in my life, and it genuinely was. I think I even cried. But on the flip side to that, there's people that are leaving us reviews on the App Store that say things like, I never would have gone traveling if it wasn't for this app, and it's really proud to provide a platform that makes people feel safe, engaged, welcomed into a completely uncharted territory that is a new group of people, and that they all get on so well and can share those experiences together.
That's pretty awesome, I think. So that transformation has been pretty noticeable for you. While you were working in the trenches, did you feel it happening? Or did you have to step back from it and be like, okay, hold up, we actually have something special here and we're truly improving people's lives in some form or another? Was that a process that you noticed?
Yes, so sort of market validation came pretty quickly, really, when we sort of opened the floodgates to our users. We onboarded quite a few within a short space of time. I think we're only sort of like 8-9 months old. We've got in excess of like 13,000 users now, and that was when I sort of realised, this is cool, and that people are actually using it. Another experience was when I went to order a bacon cob, a bacon. What do you call it? Bacon roll. Yeah, in a roll van, a cob van, a sandwich van, and I put my phone down, and you won't be able to see this, guys, but I've got a branded phone case, and it's Travamigos, and I put my phone down, and the lady that was serving me behind the bar had Travamigos downloaded on her phone, and she was actively using it. Yeah, so that was really, really cool. So there's been little hints here and there that sort of come about and make me feel sort of proud, and that we've really got something special. Yeah, big time. In fact, actually saying that, Jamie Lang, Made in Chelsea. Do you know Jamie Lang, Made in Chelsea? So he came to do a talk. He's the heir of McVitie's, actually. He came to do a talk in Loughborough, and I went to see him, and I told him about Travamigos, and he was like, "What the hell?" He was like, I know Travamigos. He's like, "I heard of it." He said, "I was thinking about starting a similar company, but you guys nailed it, so I threw it out the window." And like that, and he's like, not a celebrity, but do you know what I mean? He's on the telly, and I actually really like him as a person. So when he said that was seriously flipping hair standing up on the back of your neck stuff.
And you talked about a partnership with Skyscanner and Hostelworld. How did that come about, and how's that developed?
That probably leads me nicely into telling you sort of where we're going next with Travamigos, which would be quite cool. So we approached Skyscanner, Hostelworld, Amazon, WeSwap, and a couple of other startups like that, basically because we wanted to offer our users the full package. So we set these affiliate partnerships up, we set them live onto the app, and had £1 conversion from 13,000 users, and I was like, this is just dreadful. So what we're sort of working on now is more of a sort of a comprehensive onboarding process. So we want to drag these users in and basically get to know them on a sort of like deeper level. So I could say Desio likes he likes city breaks, he likes spiritual stuff, he likes going out at night but doesn't like party animals, and I can sort of build a profile up around you. From there, when you actually onboard to the app, I can then suggest trips for you to go on, groups for you to join, or if you press create trip yourself, then the artificial intelligence at the back end will basically optimize your route and say, here's 13 days through Thailand. These are the sort of 10 things that you do along the way, and you'll be at a point where you're like, wow, that sounds amazing, rather than, I don't quite fancy that, I want to go here instead of there. Like we will sort of already know that about you. And Skyscanner really believe it, Hostelworld believe it, Amazon believe it, so they're all sort of behind us, sort of pushing us along, and we've got that affiliate partnership set up with them.
So what's the engine that's behind that, getting to know people and creating suggestions that truly match their personality or their way of being or how they want to become in the future? This is essentially the question that I really like asking companies, and that is, who do you want your customers to become?
So the actual sort of deep underlying tech is, at a really high level, the onboarding process and the data collection we obviously want the app to sort of like self-learn. So the machine learning, deep learning aspect of it will be put into the onboarding. We also build in a multi-dimensional network. So basically destinations, if you imagine sort of like a graph along the top, you've got destinations, activities and transport. And then we use what's called graph theory. So it's basically like the Chinese postman problem, if that makes much sense, where he's got 1 million houses to deliver to and he wants the most streamlined route through the lot. So you can sort of imagine how that would affect to travelling through a country. We want them to go in a straight line down rather than keep coming back on themselves and that sort of thing.
So with that engine work in the background, with you leading the way in the market exploration, what are some of the challenges from a technical, from a business perspective, operations? What are some of the challenges that you've come across and are working on eliminating?
So when a sort of backpacker decides to go travelling, they can either go on their own, which can be sort of like lonely, unsafe. There's a couple of other things that solo travellers have reported back to us. Or they can join an organised tour. Now, organised tours are ran by the likes of STA Travel, Gap 360, people like that. The problem with group travel tours is you don't actually get to meet the people you're travelling with until you get to the destination. The prices you pay for these tours are usually 30% higher than if you book them yourself because they sell other people's tours. There's no like matching algorithm, so you're just sort of like thrown into the sharks. And you know, if you get on with these people, you get on with them. If you don't, then you've wasted $3,500 and you have a miserable time. And they also don't optimize the route, so there's no personalization in there. They just sort of like say, this is what we think you'll like, and that's sort of how it is. So our sort of main challenges off the back of that, we're building a perfect hybrid between going on your own and going with an organised tour, basically. The problems that we face, the biggest problem that we face is, you know, getting everybody in the group to commit to a certain package that's agreed by the sort of tour leader. And then from there, say if it costs £1,750 for a 2.5 week trip, it's then trying to convince 10 people that on the 12th of November, everyone needs to get round the table, a virtual table, because they're probably not going to be together, put £1,700 into the bank account and literally book it in 5 seconds. That just isn't going to happen, you know. So payments are massively, massively concerning for me. Cross-border payments, when you're changing sort of euro into pounds, the security of that payment, that payment bucket, the actual sort of like cloud payment gateway that it goes into, and then, you know, sort of like distributing rewards and packages back to the tour leader, all just sounds really messy to me.
Yeah, too right. And it seems like this is where Sage City and Travel Amigos can definitely like get some working together on some solutions, particularly, you know, the fact that blockchain's so great at making data secure and maintaining the integrity of that data. You have payments, you have people, user accounts that, you know, they want to basically buy packages, these users, and they want to make sure that their money's safe, that it's going in the right hands, that it's being, that they're not losing money on crazy fees, you know, when they're sending that cash across borders and everything else. So, yeah, it was actually kind of cool that we could, you know, hang out and bump into you here at Wyra, like the accelerator, and then see that some of the challenges you've got, you know, definitely cross over with what we're building at the moment.
Tom, perhaps you could go a bit deeper on how we're looking to work with James to solve this particular challenges and how we can bring innovation to the table while doing so and open up new opportunities for Travel Amigos to distance themselves from the competition and stand out as the app of choice for the backpacker.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, Sage City's been working on this tool we call IPS, so it's the internal payment system companies can use to essentially save a lot of money from transaction fees, make it like super simple and easy to connect users together on their marketplace and make sure buying and selling is like super slick and easy. And particularly for you guys, you know, you've got this cross-border payment thing going on. I mean, imagine having multiple countries where there are multiple travel packages. How do you get that money to those guys? How, like, what's the actual mechanism for that? And the great thing, you know, with IPS is that you're able to bulk your payments up. And by that, I mean, if I want to send you some cash via IPS, like I'm literally just sending you tokens that you can then redeem later on for real money in whichever currency you're in, meaning that you're saving a lot of costs, but also you're able to do things in real time. So there's none of this like waiting for 4 or 5 days before the cash kind of gets there. So I remember, like, James, you were talking about what was it, like the blue dot guy and the green dot guys. Blue dot guy is the lead person that guides the trip, and the green dot guys are just there to go on the trip, but also get all the funds together. Actually, yeah, tell us a bit about that scenario, like what's going on.
So the blue dot guy and green dot guy analogy just came by complete chance because they were the two colour pens that I had on the whiteboard at the time. And now it's just stuck. So blue dot guy, he's the sort of, the one that wants the hero status. He's mad into sort of planning. I'm saying he or she, and they just want to, book the trip. They know exactly what they want, and they want, like I say, that sort of pride of saying, this is my trip. You guys come along and sort of join it. And then green dot guys are some people like me, actually. I'm not really too bothered about what we do. I just want to sort of get there. I don't want the hassle of booking it. I'd rather just pay the cash and see them at the airport. So that's the difference between sort of blue dot guys and green dot guys. But of course, a group could have a mixture of the two. So it's a case of, blue dot guy owning the trip, saying, look, this is where we want to go. This is the times and dates that I want to go. And then we will serve up blue dot guy's trip to appropriate green dot guys after they come through the onboarding. So the onboarding process will find out a lot about them, and then we can serve up different blue dot guys trips, and then green dot guys can say, actually, that sounds amazing. I really want to join that. Not bothered about changing it, not bothered about putting any input. They just want to pay the cash and go on the trip. So that's blue dot guy and green dot guy.
Yeah. So this scenario here requires a lot of trust, between all the parties, because there can often be quite a lot of money involved, and they're all complete strangers. So how do we make sure that everyone's putting the cash in and that they trust that cash is like in safe hands, that they're not getting hit by crazy fees, all these kinds of things? So yeah, I mean, again, like some perfect like overlap here with what IPS can do. Just looking at how can we streamline some of the payment processes and just make it super easy for everyone to just get involved with whatever it is that the travel trip, the package, whatever it is, and just kind of bulk that whole process into one thing. Yeah, I'm excited to see how this turns out, to be honest. Like, how many blue dot guys are out there that are going to set up some wild trips for these people to go on.
James, you mentioned briefly affiliates. Do you want to? Something that I see with this is a network of affiliates spread across the world, where you could maybe have rewards and incentives going. Is this something that you want to have, a network of Travamigos like hostels or restaurants or theme parks that give offers, for example, to your user?
I often have thoughts like that, actually. Funny you should say, when I'm in bed, because I'd sort of look to the future. What I thought would be amazing is to have Travamigos branded beach bars with all of the sort of furniture and the brollies and all of that sort of stuff, just because it's cool. That's where the sort of the youngsters hang out and drink, and it really resembles sort of where I first had the idea for Travamigos and what I was doing at the time. So I think that if all goes well, that you might see some Travamigos beach bars dotted around Southeast Asia.
So when you have your first beach party, do you mind if I get an invite or anything like that?
Yeah. Far away, boys. No problems at all. Might even buy you a beer.
Yeah, so on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. Perfect. Thanks so much, James, for joining us for this last half an hour. And Tom as well, thank you for being involved. Of course, you have no choice. Right, so James, we have this tradition that we end our podcasts with Be Sagacious, because sagacity is our core most value. So if you'd like to end it for us.
Be sagacious.